Not in the subarctic. I am in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where it's a balmy 60 and a little rainy today, but we were swimming yesterday in the pool. So I don't know. Were you swimming? Were you doing the North Pole Challenge yesterday, Craig?
I kind of was. I moved out of my hotel yesterday, so when I threw the stuff in the truck, it was -4, and it did my lungs absolutely no favor. Lugging my big office chair and throwing it in the back of my truck, and lugging my stuff. I did just threw a bunch of stuff in my truck, so I was packing pretty heavy, and that almost did me in. So yesterday was a wash after I got back home.
Wow. Yeah. No, I'm glad I don't have to deal with that. Just rain down here. So.
Good deal, good deal. How are you dealing with self isolation?
I've had to escape upstairs. Usually I work downstairs. My three dogs, cat, two kids, and the wife are everybody's, on each other right now. So I've escaped to the isolation of our upstairs room. We don't have basements in Oklahoma. It's God's cruel joke. We have tornadoes and no basements. So I'm upstairs in the game room. But yeah, trying to hide from everybody and try to have a quiet environment because I can hear them fighting now. Yeah, so I'll,
So you got that going for you,
which is nice. Yeah,
which is nice. Yeah, most people don't have anything like that. Um,
right.
it's a different world entirety, and it's something that your kids and everybody will remember forever. Like 9/11, what were you doing when? People will remember, hey, these 30 days, they're going to go faster than you think. They're going to go slower than you think at times, and all of a sudden, you're going to go out back into the real world, and you're going to be like a mouse coming from underground, like sun
Really,
stuff.
it's
And
funny
I mean,
because I remember exactly where I was 9/11. I could tell you the moment. I think when people remember this, they're going to be like, "Where were you during COVID?" I'm like, "Well, I was on the couch. What were you doing?" Like,
what
like I
what
don't remember
Netflix
any of
did
it.
you what Netflix did you binge?
Yeah, you got your Tiger King shirt on. I see that today. It's nice.
Yeah, yeah. No, this is the it saved my life shirt. So this I was wearing on the day that I lit myself on fire, and was the day that I decided that I can't do stuff outside and I needed to uh, do something else, and was the day right full time. It was October 4th of 2015.
Oh wow.
I was wearing this and blue jeans, and I took a shower in gasoline that then lit on fire. So it was not a great day, but it was the catalyst by which I started writing full time. And look at me today.
That's a great story for that shirt.
Yeah, so this I'm never going to throw this thing away, man, because
I know you need to.
it's cotton. So it was on fire, but it wasn't burning me.
You need to like singe it with a lighter so the story's more potent.
That's my blue jeans. They
Yeah.
took the worst of it, and my legs. But yeah, we healed. Um, so here we are. We're gonna talk covers today, and talking about fire. My latest book, Nightwalker 7, came out yesterday, and that has a Ryan Schwartz cover on it.
Yeah.
And
Bestseller, number one, right?
number one in Western science fiction, which is a category that we were aiming for before we even started writing this series. So
Awesome.
it worked out quite well, and is working out quite well. And actually, we put book number 1 for free this week, because it's been a while since I've published a Nightwalker, and it's number 50 overall in the free store.
50 overall. One in the category, 50 overall.
Yes,
That's
50 overall and free. And
awesome.
there's some competition because a lot of people put their stuff for free right now to help
Yeah.
out during COVID
Oh,
19.
yeah. Seen a lot of that.
So yeah, 50 over and number 1 in its category. So I own Western sci-fi, both free and paid, um,
There you go. It's awesome.
with with Ryan Schwartz covers on it. So
Thank you.
so before we started Nightwalker, as one, I think I have 35 covers that you've done for me,
I think
somewhere
so. My
thereabouts.
Yeah, my kids' college fund. Thanks you, Craig. I appreciate it.
That's a We donate mightily and happily, as evidenced by 2 number 1s. Um,
Yeah,
well, no, and we've got a number 1 new release with Crimson Run, which you also did.
I did. That's a fun one. Yeah.
So orange banners abound for Ryan Schwartz. Um, when we started with, which were the first ones you did for me? Terry
It was
Henry Walton redo, or
no, it wasn't that one. Um,
I think it was
oh, it
Nightwalker.
was Nightwalker or Metal Legion, one or the other.
I think it was Nightwalker. I think Nightwalker came before Metal Legion, but Either one. That they so let's go to Nightwalker, Post-Apocalyptic Western. What was your process for deciding how to do the covers for that genre?
Yeah, it's funny. Sometimes authors come to me with a very specific idea of what they want. They want 42 leaves and three flowers on this tree because it has a representation in this scene or whatever it is. And sometimes they come with a please make it a great cover. The briefs are always different.
That
But
was
my
that was
process,
me.
you're right,
That was
right.
me.
But my process doesn't change. My process is always the same. No matter what they come to me with, I'll come back to them and say, listen, you know, to a point, I don't care, but I do, right? We'll get back to where I care about what you want. Let's talk about what the genre wants first, right? Your customers are going to dictate what the cover should look like based upon what they're buying right now. And if you book me out and you say, hey, I need to have a cover for next year, can we go ahead and get it done? I'll probably tell you no. Because in a year, the trends can change pretty drastically. I know, for example, in like urban fantasy, the Reaper and then the Academy books were huge for about 6 months last year. And they've kind of died down again, and now we're starting to see some more, I think, fairy and Viking and warrior princess kind of books. And the cover artists see those trends before a lot of other people see them hit the market. But what that tells you is that the market is asking for different things, and the books aren't selling here, now they're selling there. And what I like to do is a tremendous amount of research. So, when I'm contracted by an author to do work for them, I spend probably about half again as much time as I do on the cover just playing on the internet. In fact, my wife will come in and I'll be playing around on Amazon and looking on Facebook. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm working." She's like, "Yeah, it looks like you're working." I'm like, "No, I'm working." Like, she's like, "We can't watch a show together because you're working." I'm like, "I really am. I'm doing research." But it's truth. I'm looking at what's selling and what's hot, and it could be little things like, I think I saw something in fantasy a while back where the covers that were selling had more God rays. And if you know what a God ray is, it's that
Mhm.
beam of light that comes and shines on something, sometimes a face or whatever. And
Yeah,
so I started adding more God rays into my books. And sure enough, I had a couple orange tags from that. And it's those little tiny things sometimes that can make a difference. And so for Nightwalker, the process, go look at post-apoc, go look at westerns, go look at different things. And I think what I saw on westerns was a lot of plaid, and
hmm,
so that's why he wears a plaid shirt.
yep, yep,
A lot of a post-apoc and western, some wind, so his hair is always moving in the wind, like there's a breeze. It adds a little dynamic look to it. The colors are really big in post-apoc, and we made them dark but almost glowy, so they stood out a little bit. So
yeah,
the biggest thing is to make sure that you're at least hitting the table stakes for the genre and what the readers expect to see from that. And then what can you do to elevate it a little bit? Can you make it pop a little more? Can you make it show up in the thumbnail? And I think that last thing I do when I'm doing those covers is I will go back to that page after I've finished the cover to a point, and I will take a big screen grab of that Amazon page that shows all of those covers, and I will take the cover I just built and I'll paste it in there in Photoshop, and I'll zoom out and look at it like I'm on the internet. And I'm like, does this thing stand out? Does it stand out? And if I can see the title, if I can see it, everything, I'll even do it in black and white for handheld Kindles. I know I'm at a point where I can show the author and be like, okay, what do you think? And unless you're Craig Martelle, most people say this is great on the first run. Craig always comes back and says, let's make it more. So
flashier, more pop. Yeah, but one of the things I liked about what you talked about, the elements, it wasn't really what's in it. It wasn't, because I know sometimes we've had a like a Humvee in them.
yeah,
The last one was a ship. We had mountains. We had a caribou, a deer that you're hunting.
yeah,
So many different scenes, and I don't really care that it mirrors the scene within the story. But the key thing, the things you keyed on, weren't scene related. Plaid, wind, God ray, color palette,
right,
those, so it all matches in, because when you shrink it down to a thumbnail, so somebody looking at 10 different books on one screen, they can see only this much of it. and they'll see the right color palette. They'll see the title because you do a great job with typography, and that's not a consistent thing for cover artists. Sometimes you have to get your cover
Nice.
work done by one and get your typography done by somebody else. So the typography, it pops, so you can see Nightwalker no matter where, no matter the resolution, and then you can see an element within that makes it stand out, whether it's the character, the scene element, or the light arrangement, like you did for the mystery series.
Yeah. Are those published yet?
Dude, I apologize most profanely. Um, I
It's
have
like
to
my
rewrite
favorite
them.
series of covers, and I can't see them.
The I haven't rewritten that series yet. I'm going to finish my current whip in probably less than a week.
Okay.
And I'm looking at, I need to write Bad Company 7 and wrap that whole series. That's going to be a really long book. So I was thinking I would do the mystery rewrites after that, but I might do it like starting next week, knock them out, because here I have 9 books that aren't earning. We published them. They didn't do well because I targeted the wrong genre. Ryan redid the covers from something that looked like middle grade to adult mystery, which is what we're going to do. We're going to target the adult mystery market with even though our pro tags are 17-year-old twins, it doesn't matter. It's an adult. The adult market. And
Right.
Ryan killed it with those covers. And what I'm going to do is rewrite them just a little bit to remove some of the high school language kind of within, and make sure throw in a subplot here or there. So I'm thinking I can rewrite all 9 books, which are only about 30,000 words each of novellas, in 7 days, and then get those earning money
Yeah.
while I'm working on this other book, because that's probably going to take 6 weeks of dedicated
Oh wow.
effort for
Yeah.
120,000 words. It's going to be a big book
Yeah.
because it's wrapping a 20 some book series.
You got to pull
It's
the plot
wrapping
lines
all that
together.
up.
Yeah. That's a
So
lot.
so I'm gonna hit that and do that. And yeah, so getting those mystery books, because they need to be earning. They need to be out there and earning money. So we'll probably just publish one a week and run them for 8 weeks straight.
Well, and that's one thing I always respect and enjoy working with you, Craig, because you understand both sides of it. You understand the three, for me, the three-legged stool, the writing and the promotion is you, right? And then you have the fact that the books need to earn, right? And then you have the cover is there to draw someone in. And I feel like, if someone's not hitting all three legs, if they're just putting the book out there because they wanted to write a book and they want their family to buy it, they're missing a leg of the stool. If they are not promoting the book the right way or talking about it, they're missing or if their blurb is bad, or if their cover is bad, there's the other leg. And so the cover is not meant to sell the book. The cover is to get you to read the blurb. I
Yeah,
can't tell you how many books I've jumped into and been like, oh, this cover is amazing, and read the blurb and been like, and moved on. I read like 60, 70 books a year, and none of them are self-help. Yeah, I mean, I could use a lot of self-help, but none of them are self-help. And I like fiction. I like brain candy, and I read a ton. I read a ton of yours. And if
you
the
did. You
blurb,
read the Metal Legion series. My
I
God.
yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I I so if you haven't seen those covers, there's a lot of big like robots shooting and battle scenes and stuff. And my kids would come by and they're like, "What are you doing?" Because I was like, "Yeah, I have music in. I always listen to music when I'm designing." And they're like, "What are you doing?" And I'd go, "What do you mean?" They go like, "You're over here going pew 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 pew." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I make pew pew like battle sounds while I'm making Craig's covers for Metal Legion." So. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
you got to have all those things together, wrapped up together to sell that book. And the cover is purely there to get someone to click. That's why
Yeah.
it doesn't need to be a scene from the book. It needs to be representative of the genre to get them to click. The author should draw them in with that blurb.
Yeah. Well, the flavor, just it's that sample at Costco, which you can't get anymore because they closed all those down. But what made somebody more enticing than the other?
Yeah,
Picking, going in and say, yeah, I would like to try that. And that trying it is the blurb. And if that blurb doesn't do it, then they're not going to buy. And Brian Cohen, Brian Meeks, the blurb writers out there would tell you
yeah,
that it's the blurb that sells the book, not
it is.
the cover gets them to the blurb.
Yep, 100%, 100%.
So what you're saying is I should have a blurb writer on the show instead of a cover artist.
I think once my royalty paycheck for the show comes in, we'll decide on who you should have.
Yeah, yeah. Now the cover's that first thing anybody sees,
Yeah,
and also if you have a good brand, the good brand that keeps them coming back. And one thing,
right.
when I worked with Ryan, he looked at my other covers and saw what my name kind of font looked like and the placement on my covers and made it look similar. So even though I have 7 or 8 different cover artists over all my series,
Mm-hmm.
they all have the pretty much a very very similar block print of my name at the bottom of the bottom of the cover.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
my brand.
you hit all the top names, man. You got what? You got like Jeff Brown and Tom Edwards and Jake Caleb. You got all the heavy hitters, man. I'm just floating around in this pool, hoping I can survive. These guys are awesome.
You got a big shout out from Mark Dawson.
Did I? Oh yeah, I saw that. That was awesome. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. On one of the covers that isn't quite published right now because I've been I haven't rewritten that series yet. So
All
I'll
right.
get on it. I'll get on it soon, man. I promise. Not gonna hang out. You sent me KC barbecue, which before we
Twice.
went on the show, we were talking about barbecue. Yeah, Ryan sent me a Christmas bonus, and then sent me some right before we went into lockup. Uh, with some extra pulled pork, some shredded chicken. Oh my god! So anyway, I've eaten like a king, and I've got a pork shoulder in the freezer that Ryan sent me. Yeah, your cover artist sends you food. You know, you're in there. Um,
Yeah, it's not a bribe at all. It's not a bribe at all. Hey, Craig, what else you got on the docket?
but you've got to eat well. And last night I had green beans for dinner. So the other covers we're talking about, Metal Legion. What did you research for those? Even though you were an easy sell on that, I'm like, hey, I got a series of mechs that I'd like to do, and you're like, hey, I want to do mechs. I think you said I
Yeah,
want to do mechs first before I said, hey, I got a series that needs new covers.
yeah. It's funny. For me to feeding on that what you just said about I'll do mechs. I can't do certain artists can do certain things. I can't do romance covers. I think I made fun of it last year on the cover panel at 20 books. I cannot. There's some fantastic romance artists. I am
Yeah,
not one of them. In fact, I even made a little image of a guy with laser nipples, shooting lasers out of his nipples because that's what my cover would look like if I did romance. It would have explosions, robots, and lasers, and that's not really on point for the genre. However, robots, give me robots all day. Yeah, it wasn't a hard sell. You basically asked me. I'm a huge war gamer. I play Warhammer 40K. I do a lot of gaming. I love that stuff. I love the fluff behind it and all the stories. And so when you asked me to basically make battle scenes for covers, I was like, yeah, please, let's do it.
with Max, and we changed it because the first cover is called Scorpions. The first title is Scorpion's Fury. The main mech that goes through all 8 books is a Scorpion class mech.
Yeah, it looks like a
It's a,
kind of like a crab. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and what Ryan came up with is he said we couldn't, even though we had a 3-dimensional model of it. I had one custom designed. We couldn't get it where it really looked right. So Ryan said, "What other mechs do you have in it?" And that's why he started reading the series and saying, "Oh, you've got such a variety, and let's put some combat soldiers as well because you have Marines and other soldiers that then fight with the mechs." And it was able to make battle scenes for me. So that it was just it worked quite well, and the recover I think has helped the series. It's not quite where we want it, but it's a it's still doing well. It's earned out. We're fine, which is always what we're looking for. Did we earn out?
Good.
Um, the but what do you see? Urban fantasy is still a huge genre. What are you seeing in urban fantasy for cover trends moving forward?
Yeah, it's interesting. You see this continual move towards very, very specific subgenres of urban fantasy. And there's people that do, urban fantasy with paranormal or romance, and they put those different kind of flavors in there. But when you go like pure urban fantasy, you're still seeing a lot of some of the tried and true ones, but they're getting a little darker. So you'll have a
Hmm.
Reaper cover, but you'll have a cover that feels a little more not dystopian, more just dark, like kind of a dark feel to it, kind of like the latter Harry Potter movies versus the former, right? Like
Okay.
the very last ones. It's kind of, if you think of the Harry Potter series, the movies, how it trends into darkness to where, like, if your 8-year-old wants to watch the seventh one, you're like, I don't know yet. That's kind of where some of the urban fantasy is going. It's going a little darker, but at the same time, it's getting glowier and brighter. And so, one of the things you have to really be careful of in urban fantasy is so many people tag their book category as urban fantasy, even if it has nothing to do with it.
Hmm.
Superhero genre. I mean, you see stuff all over the place in that genre. And so you have to be very careful when you do those, because it's so broad that the stuff that's in your book, if you're reflecting a story that is more academy, you really need to show that on the cover, because there's people that voraciously read academy books. If you're doing something that has more of a magical demon or fairy, kind of familiar kind of thing, you need to show that familiar and really do it. And then you need to make sure that your cover artist is either matching the just absolute beauty of the glows that people like Jay Villalobos or Rebecca Frank or there's so many of them, Kim Cunningham, people that do those incredible glowy covers that I still sit there and play with Photoshop effects. I'm like, how do you make it glow so much? Why is this neon? I try to figure it out on myself, just technique wise. But you have to match that stuff. Do we freeze? Did I lose you? Are you there? I don't know if you guys can hear me. I've lost Craig. If you can hear me, that's great. Oh,
Are
there
we
you are, Craig. Wait,
okay?
you're back.
Good. That was me. I lost my signal. I had to switch to my MiFi. So,
Oh, okay.
can you hear us? Are we back live despite that little interruption? Hopefully, we're back live. Can you read what's on the screen, Ryan?
How much of the story do you need in the cover while still hitting the genre-specific images? You don't want to mislead with the cover about what the story is about, but you have to reach your audience. Great question. So for me, I'll typically tell you, if someone comes to me with a brief, and I've had briefs that are pages long with like almost like a wiki of stuff, like this is all the things that need to happen. I'll say pick 3 to 5 things that have to be in there. So if the character is wearing golden armor with a special, tree of life on it, and their sword glows and it has these specific runes, and she has red hair and the tree has to have 48 leaves, I'll say, okay, pick 5 things, or pick 3 things. And because you can't have that many focuses, they're almost like Easter eggs sometimes, and usually like on lit RPG or Portal RPG covers, you have to have that stuff because it's intrinsic to the story, but almost nothing else needs it. So I
Yeah.
may say, like, okay, you want glowy armor, and I can add a tree on there. That's fine. That's 1 item. You want, red flowing hair with flowers in it. That's 2. And then she needs to be, in a certain position with a certain sword. That's 3. Okay, I get to pick the background, because once you get too far into it, you're taking away the artist's decision, and you're deciding for them what the cover should be, and that's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. Oh, I agree on that. That's some things you can't get too specific on, but other things like that. What are the key elements? And for me, it was the typography. I needed that title to pop
Yeah.
because that said what we wanted to say, and then the character and a general scene, and then let you work the rest out. Because I, I don't need them that specific. I just needed to draw them to the blurb, and I hope that my blurbs then get them to convert.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hope. And you just want to attract that reader. So, imagine you're a reader, and most of you probably are. And you have a genre that you read. I read a ton of sci-fi. I read a ton of fantasy, post-apoc. I really like those genres. And I just finished the Hyperion series from Dan Simmons. I never read it all the way through, which is just, it's a legendary series. It's fantastic. And I was thinking about the next series I wanted to read, and I was like, man, I don't know. Like, do I want to go into Dune with the movie coming out? Do I want to, jump into something else? And I just was immediately captured by one of the covers by Dakota Crowd. And Amalia Chidalescu, who did the cover, and she does a ton of covers that are top. She's just a wonderful artist. She's coming to 20 books, by the way, from
Yep.
Romania, I think
Romania.
she's from. Yeah, Romania. Man, it's a long trip, but she's awesome. Anyway, so I was looking at this cover, and I was like, that's a cool cover. And I clicked on the book, and Dakota's got a ton of books that are in the top of his genre, which is
Mm-hmm.
like lit RPG, portal RPG, gaming stuff. And it sounded interesting. And so I grabbed it, and I started reading the series. And because I liked the cover, I clicked on it, and then I started reading the blurb, and I thought, this sounds interesting, and I purchased, right? But it was because the cover spoke to me. The cover spoke to me because I'm a reader of a genre like that, right? You have to have that intrinsic connection with that reader to say, this is like something I just finished, or this is like something I already have read before. So I'm going to click on this to read the blurb. Do I want to buy this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great sell. Plus, they're great books. It's Dakota Crowd. He's got a quality standard for story that is way up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, we got a question. What cover advice do you have for a first-time indie author on a tight budget who's trying to get their work out there? So I give you a couple different things, and Craig, I'm going to let you answer this after I'm done too, because I think this is good from your perspective. So two things. One, if you're starting to write a book, what kills me is all the time I hear people say, well, I've been writing this book for 2 years. It's my first book. I've been writing this book for a year. And you go for like a $50 pre-made off that someone did in Canva or something. And, it's serviceable. It says your cover, but it looks homemade. Put $20 a month away. Just take, just when you start writing, put a little bit of money away so that when you're done, you have $200 or $300 to hire somebody decent enough to give that story you've bled into the respect it deserves. If you're already done and you need to figure something out, work with a cover artist. Say, hey, I want to recover this, or I want to start on a cover in June. Can you send me an invoice, and can I make payments on it until it's done, and then we go? I mean, I do that stuff for people all the time. It's not about getting a discount. It's about making sure it works for the artist and the author. And so if you're on a tight budget, it's okay to delay your release and actually work on book 2 and 3, because Craig, what do you always say? Nothing sells the last book like the next book.
Nothing sells the last book like the next book.
That's right.
So, and nothing sells the series like the most recent book. Because
Yeah.
I always push hard on the first book whenever I put release, like Nightwalker 7. Nightwalker 1's free, so I've been promoting 1, even though 7 just came out. But hey, if you get into the series, I want you to read all the way through to 7, and it's got a sexy cover. Very brand on brand.
Right.
So for a new cover artist, what I would tell you is don't be so picky, like Ryan was talking about originally with here's a scene that I absolutely must have on the cover. Stop that. It's madness. Just here is a scene that's representative of this genre that will then get the people into the blurb. And the blurb, take your time. The first book isn't going to make you or break you, but it'll break you more than it makes you if you half-ass it completely. Like, hey, I just need to get it out there because Craig, and I have told people this, well, and so has Michael, press the button, right? Publish your book. Well, that's people who are paralyzed by perfection. But when you have people like Ryan, what's your cover group that you have, Ryan?
Yeah, so there's a group on Facebook called the Book Cover Gallery that I run. It's about 4,000 members right now, and I curate every single cover and every single member. So I don't let anybody in there that's going to spam the group, and I don't let any covers in there that fall below a quality standard. And I don't just decline them. I provide feedback to the artists and tell them why, with the goal of everybody in there leveling up. We do lots of fun auctions with mixed premier artists.
Yes.
It's a great group.
Yes. Those auctions are great. But the Book Cover Gallery on Facebook.
Yep.
Look for that
Book
group.
Cover Gallery. Yep.
Look for that group because that's where professional designers hang out, like Amalia, like Ryan, like a number of others. And we'll throw covers up on auction. We'll have a pre-made that they've thrown up there. I bought a pre-made off that once and put it on top of an anthology. That
Yeah.
people love that even though you could look at it as, well, it's mythical. The anthology is fantasy stories, but it gets people to read the blurb, and the blurb then hopefully sells them, and it does okay. That series, that anthology, is doing just fine.
We actually have
The
an auction coming up on Friday. So we have a big auction coming up on Friday the 3rd. It'll be kind of all day. I think it starts around 10 a.m. It's called the Damn Magical Auction. And every book cover in there will have something to do with magic. And there'll be probably 20 or 30 covers for sale from some of the artists that are booked out for years
yes,
that you couldn't get into for a custom. So
yeah,
kind of fun.
and that's a book cover gallery.
Yep.
Okay, look for it on Facebook, and then you'll see it. And you have to apply for membership. It's not automatic join. So Ryan will review and see if you're worthy. So
That's right.
this goes back to the basic premise of 20 books to 50K. Don't be a dick, because if you're a general good person on Facebook, then you're in. So there you are. Bob's your uncle. Get a cover. And so that's my advice to new authors is like that. Go here, find a pre-made that works because you saved your money while you're writing the book, and then get it done and get that book out there. And don't be paralyzed by perfection, but that perfection will work against you if you try to tell a cover artist how to do their job. And that's another recipe for disaster. You talk to your cover designer. Here's a general premise. It's urban fantasy. It's the gates of hell. It's a demon and a graveyard. All right, we can work with that. And actually, sounds like some of the guidance that I gave you for the mystery series that you
Yeah.
worked with. And you tried to talk me out of putting characters on the cover, and we did in a couple cases, because afterwards you talked me back into putting characters on the cover.
Right.
You're
I
like
talked you
you're like
out of it, and then I said, let's do it again.
we really need it on this cover and this, but the castle in the background with the graveyard, I think that is some of your optimal work. That one
Oh,
there, and
thank you.
then the house, the haunted house looking thing
Yeah.
that you put a character in. You're like, hey, I know I told you no characters, but I got to have the character in this one. And that was hilarious because it was such a great cover. And that's the one Mark Dawson said, you have upped your game, and this is quality stuff. And
Oh,
he
thank you.
works with Stuart Bache, so
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
yeah. So
No,
there.
it's fun stuff. Fun stuff for sure. Yeah.
Let's see what other questions we've got here. Book cover gallery. That's the group, the book cover gallery, run by Ryan.
Yeah. Hey, look at that. Thank you. Appreciate that. We try to have fun in there. And just so you know, the auctions, it's not everybody's flavor, I understand, but I do go in there and make fun of everyone the whole time. So if you're entertained by someone chipping at people, that's me.
Well, it's as we tell people who chip at us, hey, go start your own group if you want to do that. And
And
so
that's what I did.
Ryan did.
It's my group. I can do whatever I want.
Yep. That's when people come in and say, hey, you shouldn't say dick. I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry. Did I say dick again? God damn it. I hate it. I hate it when I say dick. Don't be one. So where were we? Kansas City barbecue. Oh no. So something we
Not
had
Memphis barbecue.
progressed.
Not
We had
Memphis barbecue. Yeah.
we had
Not,
progressed from that. What
yeah.
about Tex-Mex? Oklahoma. You should. Can you get that in Oklahoma?
Yeah. Yeah. It's good stuff. I'm a huge Tex-Mex and authentic Mexican fan. Yeah. We have some great Tex-Mex. A lot of the great Tex-Mex restaurants from Texas kind of creep their way up into Oklahoma, and we've got a lot of authentic Mexican as well. I like this comment down here. Ryan definitely thinks he's funny. This is a true statement. Yeah,
I'm the funniest guy I know.
I really am. I laugh at all my own jokes.
I'm my own best company. I'm the best I've ever had.
Yeah.
The now that people are home alone, um, let's what other trends? We talked about urban fantasy. What other genres are you watching closely?
Um, I watch. It's funny is everything right now is a little convoluted. It's hard to watch the genres at the moment because because the environment we're in with COVID has caused what you said earlier. A lot of people are running sales and promotions, and it's totally screwed the trends up. Like it's hard to see what's trending because people are like jamming old stuff in because they're
Yeah.
gathering new readers, and so I've kind of gone back a little bit to what was trending before and what I think is still hot, or something that is almost genre generic. Like it will work for the genre no matter what. It's table stakes plus. It may not hit the specificity of what's trending this month because it's impossible to tell. What trending right now is a lot of free stuff and sales and promotions on box sets because people are just ripping through books at home.
Yeah, and that might be something else. What about box set consolidation? Do you do those for people?
Yeah, I do. I do a lot of that. There's two ways to do it in my mind, and there's probably more. But the way I do them is one, I'll say let's take elements from the covers that we've done, and for a lower price, if you're on a budget, and everybody likes a lower price, we'll take pre-designed elements and we'll put them on the cover together in a different arrangement, kind of like arranging a song a different way, right? With maybe a new background or something, and that'll be the box set, and it'll be very echoed of the previous ones. That happens sometimes, and I said, or we could do something completely like epic looking, where it's much more ominous because it's the box set of all of these, and make a new cover, and it's just like doing a new cover. But yeah, you do those, and you get the 3D mock-ups with all the cover, with the spines in there and all that stuff, and it works out great. And sometimes you can put a discount on those. I think you have your Harry or your Henry, the Walton Chronicles for 99 cents right now.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of books for $1, but
it's only about 750,000 words for $1.
for
So
$1.
yeah.
Yeah, I saw that when I was doing some research last night. So yeah, it was it's people are discounting that stuff right now.
Yeah, and you did those covers, but then we had our cover artist take those covers and put them into the 3D look. Just do the wrap off a template.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So you got nothing from that.
Yeah, thank you.
No sweat,
enjoy
man.
the barbecue, by the way.
I will. I have, but and that's what I've done 3 different styles of omnibus covers. I've done the 3D where you just show the spines and pretty much the cover of the first book is what you see. I've also done ones, and these were what Andrew DeBell did for us.
He's great.
Where we had the cover, and then the three or 4 book covers are like posters on a telephone pole. And hey, here's the 3 books, and it shows them. So they're subset of a cover. Mm-hmm. So I've done ones that way, and then I've done ones where it was kind of like you described, a montage of elements from 4 books, and that's the 4-book cover. Yeah. I have to say that the 3D cover is unmistakable for a reader. Here you're getting a bunch of books. It's right. What it is. Having the poster things are pretty good, but it almost forces them to click because the posters of the books are kind of small. So smaller of small. So if anybody's browsing on a phone, they might have a hard time seeing what is that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the 3D because then you're getting a box, and everybody recognizes that image. It's a box set.
I think that's the thing. Now, something that you can give an option for is you don't necessarily have to have your first book cover, especially if it's not your best one. I did that with my Free Trader series, and the first cover is darker because I wasn't as savvy on what makes a great cover. Even though Tom Edwards did it, it's a great piece of artwork, but it's a little darker. So when you shrink it down in the 3D box set look, it doesn't resonate as much as almost all of the later covers, which are a lighter color scheme.
Right.
That pops. Because my best ad using Tom Edwards artwork is the cover for book 2, which is almost like the Nightwalker color palette.
Okay. Because
it's browns. It's sci-fi adventure, so you see a lot of. And one thing I learned yesterday was you have Facebook, and it's on a Facebook ad. Facebook is blue, their color palette. So my brown and yellow color scheme stands out. Whereas book 1 is blue with light blue, so it kind of blends in. It's kind of it doesn't pop as much by the basic color palette.
Yep.
So
Absolutely.
something to keep in mind. I use a lot of the raw art as ads because those ads, especially on Facebook ads, what you're looking for is art without the words.
Yep.
So it looks like a picture, and Facebook says, people like seeing family pictures. Here, show it. Whereas, yeah, I've seen some of your covers. Family, that's your Adam's family, maybe.
Yeah.
But that's so you can't just take the cover and throw it out there because their algorithms instantly recognize as a cover, and you need to pay us more if you want us to show it to people.
Yeah.
So
Smart.
using the base artwork, but that's make sure you get that in your agreement with your artist that hey, I'm going to use the artwork for ads. I'm not going to use it on merchandise because so talk about that. What would it take to get a cover art to be legal to put on merchandise?
Yeah, that's really sticky. I'll tell you, Renee Barrett does a great job of navigating this stuff, and she's kind of like our design community resource for a lot of this stuff. And some of the things we've learned, if you really dig down into those agreements for a lot of stock photography, and a lot of elements you may not know. You may have a 3D created character on the front, but maybe the background of the mountains is stock, and as the author, you don't realize that, but it
Yeah,
is. That stock photo may not have a license that allows you to do things like put it on a coffee mug or
yep,
put it on a T-shirt. But you could use it for digital advertising.
yep,
You can use
yep,
it for your ebook. You can print it on a book cover. Sometimes, depending on the license, you can even print it on like a flyer or poster as long as you're not selling it, as long as it's just used
yeah,
for your own promotion.
yeah,
But if you have 7 stock images blended together, kind of photo bash is what we call it together to make it look like something really cool, like a Humvee with a sky that has a sky overlay, and then a background with a bunch of buildings, and then you have a couple characters that are wearing plaid, and then part of them's 3D. All of a sudden, you have 12 photos in there. Usually those licenses to allow you to make a coffee mug out of your own cover, right? It's like $100 a picture. And
yeah.
so you need to be upfront with your artist. What are you doing with this stuff when you're going to be done? Are you going to try to put it on coffee mugs? Are you just using it for ebooks and print? Because that dictates how we buy the image and then how we have to charge you. Because if you come back after the fact, it's like, oh man, I see you drinking your coffee mug with the Nightwalker cover. Craig, did you know that there's 8 stock photos in there and we didn't license it for that? And
We didn't
that's
get the
actually
extended licenses, so I recommend you do that or destroy the mug.
I destroy the mug because it's all of a sudden an $800 mug. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I'm not opposed to buying an $800 Ryan Schwartz mug, though. I think everybody should be willing to do that.
is it a mug of my mug?
It will be after this show. Let me get a screen capture real quick. Okay, and
That's not.
that'll be.
I did not license that stock photography for extended use.
But that those are important point. Extended license. A number of my covers, a lot of the Andrew DeBell covers are 100% original artwork, like
Yeah.
a photo shoot, doing a photo shoot, and that was with the background that's all blended in and the color and some destruction looking stuff, but it's still, there's no stock images, and that is righteous because then we had uh, mugs and stuff made out of that
Yeah.
stuff.
For
Because
and what's oh, go ahead. Sorry.
in that photo shoot, you could look at it and say, holy cow, that photo shoot is kind of expensive for a one off. But it wasn't a one-off. We have we have like 25 covers that we did out of. You
Yeah.
took a lot of the stock photos, not stock, but the from the photo shoot to redo the covers and change the look of them, and also
Great
increase
stuff.
our typography. So once again, we're looking at all that, saying, hey, this is there's no stock images or only one or two, and much better to work with that.
Andrew does a great job of that. Andrew Dabell, and then Gene Malika does a great
Yeah,
job of that as well. He was on the 20 books panel last year for covers. They have their own photography studios. They're able to shoot it from soup to nuts. And if you want to use a cover for extended use, there's a couple different ways you can do it. One, photo shoot, right? Totally photo shoot it. Two, do it all in 3D. Have someone design it in 3D and background and everything. A lot of time those licenses are different. Make sure you check before that the
yeah,
licenses extend to that for the item. The other one is to have someone completely illustrate it, like Rebecca Haskell or Jeff Brown or Tom Edwards. Sometimes they'll do it all by hand as a painting, and they can look beautiful. It's a little bit more expensive,
Yeah.
but you if you license it from the artist the right way, you can do kind of what you want with that as well.
And that's Tom Edwards. He does digital painting, so his covers are almost 100% he painted.
Same with Jeff. Yeah.
Yep, and Jeff Brown. I've got Jeff Brown covers as well. Hey man, I'm rocking the cover world.
You
But
are.
Christian Bentalon, he'll be coming
Awesome. Yeah.
to Vegas. Gene Malika actually just signed up 3 people yesterday coming to
Sweet.
Vegas.
Wow.
So he's bringing his team, and Christian is bringing his wife, who is one of his cover models.
Right.
So when Gene does the live photo shoot example, we gave him an hour and a half block in Vegas to do. Hey, here's a soup to nuts live photo shoot. Here's how you set up. Here's how you do
Awesome.
it. And we've asked Christian's wife if she would then be the live model, so we didn't have to hire out of work Vegas prostitutes, even though we're not opposed. Not opposed, mind you. So
right.
anyway,
Okay.
that's
No, I think that's great. And what we'll do is we'll make Christian create a pre-made cover at the show that you can watch him paint with the picture of his wife. We'll make him do
that Gene took and shaped and helped people understand this is how we get exactly the flavor and the feel we want to get you the shots you need. Because Andrew takes 1,000, 2,000 photos.
Huge amount of photos.
So, because you want that variety. We didn't know we were going to need 20 some covers with those characters, but
right.
He went through all of it, like jumping action shots, like contemplative shots, like mystery shots, loving look shots, all the different variations of 2 people. And we had 2 people during that photo shoot, made it a little pricier, but you can't go wrong. And the clothing they wear, that helps, because if you have to Photoshop clothing onto them, well, then you're looking at license issues and stuff like that. So make sure you get a variety of outfits. And our cover model for the Terry Henry shoot, he wore something. It's like, what the hell are you wearing? And he was wearing like fancy shoes. It's like, dude, you're supposed to be wearing combat boots. So Andrew was wearing, and said, here, wear mine. So Andrew did the photo shoot, I think, barefoot, while this guy could wear his combat boot and a pair of camouflage pants that he brought, as well as that we bought for the photo shoot, as well as blue jeans. I think this guy wore Andrew's blue jeans because he was wearing like, dude, this isn't Fifth Street or Wall Street and Fifth Avenue.
Yeah. Wow. He's a tough looking guy too. That's crazy.
Oh, dude was hard as woodpecker lips, but he was a model.
Right.
And also getting a photo shoot in the UK is extremely challenging because neither of them had ever handled a weapon before. Because we had mock-ups, and they always wanted to put their finger on the trigger and do stuff like, no, stop, don't ever do that. You only do that if you're shooting. So Andrew had to work with them quite hard, and then in the end, he ended up just photoshopping their finger off the trigger because some of the best shots, they were holding the trigger, death grip on the trigger.
Right.
So so all of those things to keep in mind when doing a photo shoot.
Yeah.
But
it's
$20 Vegas, and we're going to record that session, so that'll be an hour and a half long of Gene going through how to do that. But in person, you'll be able to walk around and get. I mean, it'll be almost. We're going to call it a workshop because it's going to be a lot of hands-on kind of.
It'll be fantastic.
Yeah. I commission original art. I'm just reading some comments here. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I'm not getting the comments anymore. I don't. So.
I didn't post them over. We have the important comment.
Okay, I'm guessing that's from Doug Pratt.
Memphis barbecue is better than what?
Is better, Craig. Don't let right.
You're out of here.
So Doug likes Alabama white sauce, which is like a terrible barbecue sauce. So don't trust him on barbecue. He's terrible.
His taste does not mirror the rest of humanity's.
No, it doesn't. Now it's a Swiss Army knife of contracts, and unless the industry changes dramatically, use it for everything. I don't know what that's referring to.
Yeah, that's somebody. I don't know if that's who's up at that point in time.
Oh,
whether it was Renee is watching right now or not. But Renee is coming to Vegas as well, and I think she's
yeah.
giving a session on the legalities of cover design,
She's
so we
really
can have
latched
that.
on and mastered that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of Vegas. This is going to be the single biggest gathering of indie cover designers
I've been
maybe ever.
pitching these international artists to come forever, and I finally got Christian to agree. I got Amalia to come over. We got Jeff Brown coming up from Mexico now.
We got Tom Edwards coming from the UK.
Yeah, well, you did that one, but yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
excited. I'm excited to meet. These are my peers. I mean, it's fun.
yeah,
It's funny. It's kind of like the author community. We're all competitors, right? In a way, but all of this cover artists, we're all friends. We have our own like secret Facebook groups, and we talk about like techniques and how do you get this done, and like what does this effect look like, and how's this hair, and how can I improve this, and we all talk, and we're
yeah,
all friends. It's great.
yeah. Because you're all booked out. It's not like you're all vying for work.
There's
There's
plenty of
uh,
work.
there's there's plenty of work for the good cover artists, and that's what. And hopefully, with the sessions in Vegas, we can bring some more cover artists in to bring them up their standard. Because it's not
That's
not
yeah.
it's not necessarily a lack of skill or desire. It's just simply a lack of knowledge, training, experience that then help them to up their game. So this is going to be a huge expansion in regards to what 20 Books Vegas is able to share with the cover artists, and it starts on Industry Day on Monday. Describe what your vision for the cover artists on that Monday.
Yeah, we're gonna have a great selection of people, probably like two to a table. They're going to be talking about what they do and how they do it, and all the different genres represented. You're going to be able to on Industry Day come in and have a really great targeted conversation with a variety of cover artists about whatever you want. Some of us will be doing live demos. We'll do that live demo station there as well on the Industry Day floor. We'll probably rotate through and set our equipment up so that we can show different people doing different techniques. I have been trying to figure out how Amalia makes her covers look the way she does. So I can't wait to see her paint. It's driving me crazy because I'm always trying to deconstruct what people do. But yeah, you're going to have the ability to really connect with these people. And I think that's the biggest thing that I find is the pure advantage of 20 Books in Vegas is the connection. You have a question about something that, Dakota Kraut says on stage. Well, go talk to Dakota Kraut. He's right over there. If you want to make a personal connection with a cover designer, well, go talk to your cover designer. We brought literally almost all of them. Go say hi. Go make that connection with them, and ask them those questions that would take a really long time to formulate on Facebook.
Yeah, and this is the power of the 20 Books Vegas conference. The fact that we were able to get so many high premier cover artists to come to the show and share with us and share their knowledge and share their being. So that you can't beat it. And the live demonstration that Ryan talked about on Industry Day, we're extending that and making it available on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're at the check-in desk down by outside of Sam's Live. We'll have a separate table where a cover artist, hopefully they'll rotate through and be working on a cover at any point in time with a monitor, a slaved monitor, so you can see how they're working and what they're doing and just watch the process. And I'm sure Ryan will set up some kind of schedule, just volunteer. They'll be able to plug in and work. And you can see the process as they go. Ryan has done a couple different videos for me showing here's the process of making a cover, one of my the mystery covers.
Yeah.
So that and that you covered it in like 3 minutes and how you did it and how you added objects, removed objects, layered things in, blended, changed the shading, and it's an interesting process to watch, and also why. The big thing, because you might tilt a mountain. You're like, why in the hell would you have to tilt a mountain? Look, the way the eye is drawn through the cover and looks, and the way people look in the Z pattern or whatever it is, feeding them to get them to then click on the click so they can read the blurb and buy your book.
A cover designed in the wrong way is your eye, it immediately knows something's wrong and it doesn't feel right, and it doesn't, you don't go from, the bright point to the title. You kind of just wander and then you lose interest, right? You gotta have them like that, and your eye knows what it wants. Your brain knows what it's trying to look for. Your brain intrinsically senses patterns, and you've been trained since about 3 years old to read in a Z. You read from the top left to the right, and you go down to the corner, and that's how you read, right? You read, and in a cover, you do the same thing, just in a larger perspective. So when things tilt, when things, you have a God ray coming down, when you have a bright point in the top left, or flames, a lot of times you see those arcs and different things. We're drawing you down to reset to read the title. There's definitely a technique that's rooted in science for color theory and eye direction and the way people read different things that I definitely follow the tenets of. There's all sorts of different. You can look at the Fibonacci spiral, to the rule of thirds, to the Z reading pattern. There's tons of them, but as long as you're following some of those tenets, you'll get something that people want to go, ooh, that's cool.
And a lot of times, and pretty much that's my approach of covers. I look, and what is my first instant impression? I've started to trust that more. And I know I told Ryan sometimes that, hey, this doesn't look right, and I can't tell you why. And Ryan has completely redone a cover because of that first impression. You just know. And sometimes it's like, and this is without my perfectionist hat on, because I don't have that when it comes to covers. Michael Anderle does, though, and he will look at them and be more critical, but he knows what he's looking for from an artistic perspective. You've got to trust that gut, and it's not like, oh, this doesn't match the scene in my book. No, take that hat off. Put on the hat of Joe Bob, the reader who you're trying to sell this book to. Of, oh, exciting. It looks like urban fantasy, a girl there with glowy hands. Okay, hey, I love Academy books, and are they going to then click over? So the cover, trust your cover designer. If they have the graphic art skills, trust your own instinct. Your own instinct of pop it up. The first thing I'll do is shrink it down. So my first impression of it is small, which is the majority of your buyers will see it in that way first. They're not going to see it with full screen where you can see, like you said, 42 leaves on this tree. Yeah, bullshit. Nobody sees that. I mean, nice, but no, nobody sees that because nobody blows it up to the full size of their screen. I mean, when you buy the ebook, if you're reading on your Kindle, it's black and white, and then it's on the screen, and you have to flip backwards to get to it. You don't even so don't fall in love with your own story to the point that the cover must match exactly, and it's life or death if it doesn't. That I've some of my best covers actually have no scene from the book. The last one for Metal Legion, I was never able to get a mech on a landing ship.
I haven't read that one yet.
I didn't have the scene in there, but still, the cover is a mech riding a spaceship through the atmosphere, and firing while they're flying, and it's a great image, and I don't have it in the book. I meant to write it in there, because one thing I do also is I like having the cover before I write the book, but I'm going to have the book done in a month, so it's not like 2 years down the road I'm eventually going to resurrect this cover and put it out there. So that one. And it's still I love that cover. I love it. And that was just, Ryan, do me something good. There's some great shit going on.
What did we call that the first time? Saddle up. It was
yeah. yeah. I'm like, oh, the title's actually End of War, but Saddle Up works. I almost published that too, because I'm like, funny. Oh yeah, I love this, and it was because they're sitting side by side. I kept them both, of course, and I hit it. And then I saw it right before I had published. I'm like, "Oh, Saddle Up. Let's not do that. Let's put the End of War one up instead."
That's fantastic.
Yeah. All right, man. Appreciated having you on. Any final words for folks in regards to covers?
I would tell you just what Craig said. Trust your cover artist, but also trust your gut. I've redone covers because artists don't always get things right. We try really, really hard. Occasionally we fall in love with stuff too. So, say, hey, this doesn't feel right. But don't try to get too specific. Just let us work on some things as well. Please join the book cover gallery. I'll plug a couple things here, Craig, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Please join the book cover gallery on Facebook. I am at The Cover Designer, so facebook.com/groups/The Cover Designer. That's my personal page where I keep stuff. And I'd also plug a friend, Rebecca Haskell. Jeff Haskell is an author. She is now an author as well. She just wrote a book. I think it's called Cover Your Book. I'm giving away some free copies in the book cover gallery. It is a book purely designed on how to talk with your cover designer. Pretty on point for this conversation.
Without sounding like a git. I think that's the panel that you're leading in 20 Books Vegas.
Yeah.
Talk to your cover designer without sounding like a git. There we are. I don't have a session. I don't have a C&M show set up for tomorrow because going here forward, every C&M show will cost me about $30 to do because of my bandwidth issues now that I'm not in the hotel. I had enough bandwidth left over because I was in the hotel for 16 days this month, so I could do it from home. But I have very, very limited what I can do, and it costs me a lot extra. So we'll probably go to every other day starting from here, and we'll do what we can to get some guests on to talk to you about things that are important to your business, the business of self-publishing. All right. Everybody have a great day. Thank you very much, and stay inside.
Yeah. Thank you all.